Hey, hi, everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I want to ask you, does your spouse or your partner have a dysfunctional family? And do you know what to do if that's the case? Today, I want to talk about that briefly. First of all, there are so many different types of dysfunctional families, as you well may imagine. Smothering and enmeshed families, controlling, critical and argumentative families, cutoff families, abusive families, delusional and distortive families, families who just make things up out of whole cloth, families who distort what's being said and done and what they see. There are volatile families or moody families where you never know who you're going to get when you get together or when you call them or when you never know what mood they're going to be in. There are bigoted, racist, non-accepting, and families full of prejudice. And maybe that has affected you as well. Because not always do we marry someone our family is really thrilled with. Whether they are of a different religion, a different skin color, a different background, that can all be problematic, and there can be prejudice and racism and non-accepting going on within spouses' families. Then there are the alcoholic and drug addicted families. Those are not easy to deal with either. And what do we do? In all of these types of families, and even other types of families, you can talk with someone, and I would recommend getting some help from a coach or a therapist. You can talk about the distinct kinds of problems that may come up with those specific types of dysfunctions. However, there are some universal things that I want to share with you today that kind of fall in the category of whatever type of dysfunctional family. These are some things to remember to do. And if you'd like to learn more about those and go into greater depth, I have an online program listed below in the description that you can go to and check out. There's also an online training that's free that's down there as well. So there's a couple links you can check out if you'd like to know more, learn more, and know how to deal with these things more effectively. So given there's so many different types of families out there, first of all, we want to remember that we will need to probably be setting boundaries with the in-laws and maybe even with our spouses or with our partners. That boundaries are very important. And you may want to learn about boundaries more. There's some great books out there on boundaries. My online program has a whole segment on boundaries, both internal boundaries and external boundaries. And what I've found in some of the boundary books is they don't talk about both. They either only talk about external, and then they kind of vaguely talk about internal boundaries. But we need internal and external boundaries. So we will need to be setting some boundaries with partner or spouse and the in-laws in an appropriate way so that we can be adults and mature with our in-laws. And that we can remain adult and mature whether they do or not. And that's very important for us. Also, we will want to decide what type of relationship I want to have with these in-laws, particularly if they're dysfunctional. What kind of relationship do I want to have? And it's okay to ask that question, only I tell people, given exactly how they are now, what type of relationship would you like to have with them? Not what type of pie-in-the-sky relationship would you want to have with them, or what type of relationship you'd like to have with them if they were different. No, the way they are right now, what type of relationship would you like to have with them? And that's the best question, I think, to ask. And the same is true for you and your partner. You can talk to your partner or your spouse about, well, what kind of relationship do we want to have with your family and with your parents? That's not just based on family expectations, family rules, the family super self, meaning how you're supposed to behave in the family, because then it's just an extension of our childhood into our adulthood. I'm an adult. I'm not a child anymore. I don't have to go to that holiday on that day. I don't have to do that anymore. if I don't want to? And what kind of relationship do I want to have? And if you're going to be setting some boundaries, you need some help, check out help with a coach or therapist. I have coaches, or you can work with me. You can check online and we'd be happy to meet with you and help you with those things. So we have to decide what kind of relationship we want to have with them, whatever their dysfunction, from drug addiction all the way to just good old and neurotic and anxious, and there's a whole continuum all the way from somebody who's just kind of a pain to somebody who is malignantly toxic. So there's a whole continuum. And I'm sharing with you some general advice that would apply to all the continuum. Then there'd be some unique advice depending upon where families land on that continuum. I think it's important we remember, we married our spouses. We also kind of married his family or her family. Now, that doesn't mean all bets are off. That doesn't mean if I marry your family as well in some way, it doesn't exclude being respected. It doesn't exclude me having a self. That's not what being married to your family means. It just means we have some shared life with your family. But that doesn't mean I can be treated any old way, any old time. Particularly if a partner or spouse is very, very heavily connected with their family, then it's an awful lot to expect them to just cut all that off. And if it's problematic and they don't see it, then you need to get some help for yourselves as a couple. And again, there is some shared life with that, whether we like it or not, whether we don't want it or do want it. That comes with the package because a family has a super self and an emotional process or an emotional Wi-Fi that's going out. And if you marry into that, you're going to be affected by that emotional Wi-Fi, is what I'm saying. And that we discuss a lot more in the online program. Don't try to change your partner or spouse's family. And certainly don't try to do it without the support of your partner. They should probably take the lead. The blood child should, I think, be the point man on addressing their family. If my mother is giving my wife a hard time and is just being unreasonable, and Susan or Mary or whoever is complaining to me about it, and it's just not appropriate, then I might go to my mother and say, Mom, we're on the same team, my wife and I, and that's not okay, and you need to stop doing that. You really need to stop doing that, and you're hearing that from your son, who is your biological son. Now, I'm not saying spouses can't stand up for themselves. They can. And if Susan or Mary, whoever I'm married to, wants to address my mother about that, they can. And hopefully my mother will take it and will take it in and use that information. If she doesn't, then I think it's good for the blood relative to step in. The wife with her family, the husband with his family. Because I think there's, in some ways, almost a stronger voice, and then there's less likely they're going to scapegoat the partner. Oh, well, Mary's just a troublemaker. Our son, Jerry, is so wonderful. But Mary came and talked to me about, oh, no, I don't want that. I'm going to talk to you, Mom. I can be the scapegoat, not her. You can blame me. That's perfectly fine. So, and don't try to change your partner's family. It usually doesn't work very well anyway, because otherwise you will be scapegoated, you'll be blamed, and probably ostracized, because that happens so frequently when we do that. And we particularly have that problem if your spouse or your partner is not on the same page with you and there's not unity. So if a spouse or partner has a dysfunctional family, you have to get that unity going with the two of you. Otherwise, the family will overwhelm your unity. And we can talk more about that in other videos. So I would suggest getting a coach or getting a therapist. Don't try to go it alone if you can't come to some agreement with your partner. Talk with your partner about the problems. and about the expectations. Hey, honey, hey, Don, what do you expect from me with your family? This is how your family kind of treats me. What do you expect from me? And what expectations do you have for your family and how they treat me? And here are some of the problems that I've seen. Can we work through those or talk about those, Don? Remember that you and your partner have choices. You can go full contact with the dysfunctional family with boundaries or healthy boundaries. You can go low contact. You can go no contact with an emergency plan. If somebody were to get sick or someone goes to the hospital or whatever, they could let you know. Or some people go full no contact and they don't want to hear anything no matter what happens. There's such toxicity here. It doesn't matter what happens in the family. It's unfortunate, but that if they're on this end of the continuum down here, very, very toxic, there are people like, I don't want to have any. I don't care what goes on. Because then we're going to pretend to be normal within a very abnormal family. Oh, well, you don't want to know if your father passes away? Well, under normal circumstances, I would. And I think most people would like to know if their father passed away. But there are circumstances in which it may not matter one bit. Maybe that father has been extremely abusive, manipulative, narcissistic, mean, hurtful. Then it's like, do I really care? And I don't have to care. Even though society thinks I'm bad for not caring, walk in my shoes, and then you decide whether you would care or not. Don't talk to me about your rules for your family, because you may not have a family that's anything like mine. So, many people think, well, just do the normal rules. Don't do normal rules for abnormal families. It doesn't work. Also, avoid family triangles. It's very easy to get caught up in triangles. Mom-in-law talks to daughter-in-law about the spouse or husband. That can be a problem. Mom talks to son about the wife. That can be a problem. Sister talks to brother about the wife, in-law. That we have all these triangles that can go on. And we want to avoid those triangles. So if I'm the blood relative, the blood family, and they come to me and say, oh, we need to talk to you about, Mary. Well, what seems to be the problem? I mean, why are you coming to me? Oh, well, she just said something really mean to Sister Madeline. Okay. Did you think Madeline maybe should go and talk to Mary? Don't you think that? I think that would be a better approach than me going to Mary. Because if I go to Mary, she's going to know exactly where this came from. It's not coming from me. She's going to know I talked to you about it. And that's not going to help the dynamics. So I think it's better if we have one-on-one communication, if at all possible. And if we can't, then maybe we need a therapist, maybe we need a coach to help us with that. It is certainly okay to stand up for yourself with the in-laws. But we stand up for ourselves to protect ourselves, not to change them. Certainly we can ask them if I would rather you not do that. I don't like it when you call me a little baby. I don't like that. Please don't do that. But if they continue to do it, then I can stand up for myself and say, well, if you're going to continue to do that, then I am probably going to have to withdraw more. I'm going to have to be more detached because I'm not going to take that. And that's unfortunate because I thought we could have a better relationship. So it's okay to stand up for yourself, but it's very difficult to go in there and try to change someone else. I've been trying to change other people for 45 plus years. And what I've found is I have a lot more success if I bring me to the situation and let them decide how they want to be. That usually is a more powerful dynamic. I hope you found this video helpful. I want to introduce you to my new step-by-step program designed to help you break free from the toxic relationship dynamics in your family, to heal your relationships, and build the real self you were never allowed to have. I personally wish I would have had access to a program like this early in my own journey. This program is an investment in yourself, your relationships, your healing, and your life. To learn more about the program, click on the program link below provided in the description. I truly believe it will have a profound effect on your life.